Okay. And Todd, you didn't hear me say, but I was telling everybody I did some Google Slides. I knew there'd be some links I want to use. So
Okay.
I'm going to be disappearing through a lot of this. And when you have questions, you'll let Angela know or type them in or interrupt me, and then we'll take it from there, okay?
Sounds great.
Let me share this.
All right.
And there's the first bark.
That's okay. Well, first off, I want to welcome everyone to our Know How Nordonia session, and I would like to introduce our guest this evening. We have Mindy Hanson, and she is with Licking Valley. She is the Educational Technology Specialist, and she's also the one-to-one coordinator for the middle school. And her district, Licking Valley, which is about an hour out of Columbus, has gone one-to-one with Chromebooks. So we actually got to visit them earlier in the year, and she has graciously volunteered to present some information to us this evening. So I will go ahead and let Mindy take over, and if we have any questions or anything, as Mindy said, we can just type them in and kind of go along as we go.
Okay. Can you all see that slide now? My slides? Nope. Hang on a minute.
Okay. Yes.
Hang on.
No?
Let me stop that. Doesn't this always happen, Angela?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I have you presenting to everyone. Oh no, she left. She got kicked out. Uh-oh. All right, here, I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know if I should stop the broadcast or just let it go. I think she hung up on accident. Well, here, what we'll do to fill some time is we'll talk a little bit about when we went on the visit. So, Todd, you might want to add some things. But when we went to their district, we met with Mindy and her superintendent and the middle school principal and the high school principal. And they are, as we said, a one-to-one with Chromebooks. And they went through the different process that they went to kind of transition into this. And their big thing, like ours, is professional development. And so that's one of the big things that they wanted to stress was that, you know, professional development is key, and to make sure that the teachers feel comfortable using these in the classroom. So that's why we're trying to do more of the Know How Nordonias and the professional development days like we're planning here, coming up here soon. So so that's really important. They brought a lot of good points up with us, and I think it was really helpful for us to see kind of how they did it. And they are the poorest district in their county, and they pulled this off. So, you know, we asked them a lot of tough questions about the Chromebooks and about students taking them home, and they had some really, really good answers for them. So, which was good.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I left energized after when I left there. Hey, there she is. She's back.
I'm coming back.
Hey,
I don't know what happened.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I filled some time and talked about our visit a little bit.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah.
Hang on here. I'm still trying to get the... Now this worked great the other night, didn't it, Angela?
Yes. Are you in the screen?
It's not wanting to show my the slide screen so I can share it.
Do you have the slides in a separate tab?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you click on the green screen share, does it pop up?
That one, there's some other options, but that one doesn't.
Okay, so you might want to try to open it up in another tab.
I'm going to do, let me see if that will do anything.
Bad. Oh, okay, I saw it for a little bit.
You saw it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you see it now?
Oh, yeah, I see it, yes.
Okay. We will try that. Let me go to the next one here. Okay, I don't like that error sign from Google, but we're just going to cancel it and keep our fingers crossed. I hope that wasn't what just shut me off a minute ago.
No, you're still here. You're still here. You're
okay. Good. And you're still recording?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. So I'll give you just a real quick, super quick background. And I'll talk about some things. If I had to say were the biggest priorities, if you're getting ready to start a one-to-one program, these would be kind of the ones. And then I'll show you some favorite apps and extensions and some sites that our teachers really seem to like this year. We'll share some stuff from teachers' websites. I'll give you some resources you can look at, and then some other little, tidbits and advice that you might find handy. Okay? And as I said before, you've got to make sure that, you stop me with questions. I'm almost certain I've got more than we can do in the time that we have. So stop me and ask questions as we go would be the best way to do it, okay? You all know about Licking Valley Middle School, and I think Angela's told you some. Just so you know, we've got about 600 students, give or take. And we've got about 7 teachers per grade level. Okay, that's the kind of the size that we're starting with. It's our first year in a one-to-one program. This is where I live most of the time. We call this the fishbowl room, or sometimes the fishbowl technology center. The kids call it the fishbowl because it used to be the vice principal's office and the attendance office, and it's completely surrounded by glass. So when I took it over, we just call it the Fishbowl Technology Center. That's where I spend most of my time now. I used to be, for those who don't know, a high school English teacher for over 20 years. And I found that I loved working with digital learning so much that even though I could have gone on being an English teacher forever, I loved that. I found I almost loved more using the technology and learning about it. So I decided about 3 years ago I was going to try to make a switch. And so last year I joined Licking Valley Middle School, and that was the year that I switched over. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
You're
good, you're good.
I didn't hear anything on that side. I wasn't sure. So what I would tell people is these would be your priorities. And hopefully these are some things that you're already doing or plan to do, but they're things that I know that if we didn't think about for our school, we wouldn't have gotten off to the good start that we have gotten off to. One is to not just create a website, but make sure you use that website every day if you can. When teachers create websites, one of the main reasons they do it is to put information on for students to access and share and utilize. You can put all the information on there you want, but if your kids don't go to that site every day, they'll never get in the habit of going to that site or knowing that the information is on the site. So if you post it but the kids don't go there, they're still going to be asking you, well, where's that assignment? Where's this text reading we're supposed to be doing? If the kids go to the website every day or almost every day, they're going to know where the information is, and when it's time for them to, have some information they need, they're going to know where to go to get it, not just get it from the teacher. Secondly, make sure you're using a learning management system. Angela says some of you are already using Google Classroom, and I highly recommend it for those who haven't used it yet. It's pretty easy to use. It connects with Google, Chrome, everything else you'll need. But have some kind of a learning management system where you can share documents with students back and forth and communicate that way, not just post information like you might on a website. Please consider your parents. Make sure that you're not just thinking about your students when you're posting assignments and due dates and things like that. I get probably 2 or 3 calls a week from parents wanting to know how they can access their teacher websites, because you all work with students and you know that sometimes when they say, yeah, Mom, I've got all my homework done, my assignments are finished, they're not always telling the truth. And so parents sometimes will call wanting to know, how can I find out what my teacher's agenda is for this week? Well, in our district, we have, kind of a closed Google environment with Gmail and so forth. Our students can get in, but if the teachers decide that they don't want to have their, say, websites be public for anybody to view outside the district, and the parent who wants to get in, independent of the student, can't get in and look at things. So make sure you're thinking about parents when you're gathering information and making things available for them. And I always say consider being more public as a teacher. Sometimes we're a little timid about, I don't want my website to be out there for everybody to see. Well, if it's not out there for everybody to see, then people who need to see it can't. So think about being more public with your things and not be too intimidated by what you think other people might say about it. Make sure you're learning Google Docs and forms and slides. I assume that you all are, but it's what you're going to be using all the time once you start this program. And you're going to see that the students learn the Google Docs very, very quickly. And, you know, sometimes our students are a bit ahead of us technology-wise, but it helps if you're not too far behind them. So get to know them so you can help the students use them also. Start using the Chrome browser if you're not already. Before we got our Chromebooks, I was always a Firefox gal. But it pays to use the Chrome browser, not just because Google things work better with the browser, the Chrome browser, but also because that's what your students are going to be using exclusively is the Chrome browser. And the more you get to know how to use it and the different features on it, the more use you can make of them. So if you haven't switched yet from Internet Explorer or one of the other ones, start making that switch and get used to using the Chrome browser. Make sure if your school doesn't already have one that you ask for, maybe even create yourself, some kind of a Chromebook one-to-one website that students and teachers and parents can use to access information. I'll show you what ours looks like and the ways that we've used it and why it's been handy, especially at the start of the school year. Now, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. And this is just a slide I made because I knew that students would be asking, well, you know, the all important things like how do I change the theme on my Chromebook, you know, those kind of important questions. So I posted in some information for the students so they could become more self-sufficient and help themselves and answer the questions that they have about Google Drive and Docs and Chromebooks and Chrome and so forth. And this is where the teacher websites can be found also. And, you know, what I found with parents is that not only can they access their teacher websites, but they've got other information that parents might need on this site. You know, we did, for instance, an orientation at the start of the school year, and all the parents had to come with their kiddos, and we talked to them about their Chromebooks. Then they got to take the Chromebooks home with them. We had 3 nights of orientation for the middle school, and we still had a couple dozen students and parents who didn't come to the orientations. So I made a shorter version of the orientation, made it into a video, and then the parents could access it through this website. If we didn't have this website, we'd be trying to direct the parents, you know, where am I going to find this information? So the one-to-one website that we have comes in handy for lots of different things. So if you don't have one yet, please make sure you get one. It'll save lots of the same questions being asked over and over again for the students and the teachers. And then lastly, do lots of, and I just always call this slippers and tea research, right? This isn't professional development, this is personal professional development, which means you're going to spend a lot of time with a cup of tea, whatever your favorite beverage is, and your slippers, doing some research. You want to look at other teachers' websites across the country. That's the way you get ideas, not just lesson plans, but the way that teachers utilize different websites. And, you know, I would tell teachers, the information is not going to come to you, except what you're, you know, told through professional development. You have to go out there and look for things. You've got to do some research. And one of the reasons earlier I said to consider being more public with your websites and things is because, you know, think how many different teachers' websites you've looked at and how many different teachers' lesson plans you've looked at across the country, around the world. If those teachers hadn't made those things public, you wouldn't have had them to learn from. So as you start to build a repertoire of digital things that you use, you know, consider making them public. Don't hide everything you've got, because then people can't learn from it. But you will have to do some of your own research and keep doing it, and that's really how you learn. And here's my best advice, because I know some teachers, just from experience, they're terrified thinking about a one-to-one program starting. We had a couple of teachers in our district who were pretty terrified also. They're okay now that we've started. I mean, you've seen this cartoon here. This teacher's hiding under her desk because she's so afraid of these computers coming into her classroom. And the guys say, there's nothing to be scared of, Mrs. Miller. This is just another learning tool. That's all it is. And we found in our school, too, that's exactly how the Chromebooks are treated. They're another learning tool. They're not the be-all. They're not the end-all. The world doesn't stop with the Chromebook. You don't have a party to celebrate the Chromebook. You just use it like you would another classroom tool. So when it comes to starting your one-to-one program, you be you. You be you. Don't compare yourself to that teacher down the hallway who's got a website she's been working on for 2 or 3 years that's full of information. If all you're doing right now is just trying to get a website put together and maybe posting a calendar on it or something like that. Don't compare yourself to other people, just grow. Take baby steps. You know, they always say, and this is a number I've heard several times, if you can learn to do 2 to 3 new things a year when it comes to digital learning, that's a pretty good start. Because what you'll find happens is when you start to learn little bits about technology and how to use it, it starts to snowball. And pretty soon you get, I won't even say it becomes easier for you. What happens is you build more confidence. And those fears that you have about, what am I going to do with a computer, as those fears start to go away, you open yourself up more to trying new things and not being afraid of failing. So you be you. That'd be my best advice to you. I thought I'd share with you some of the favorite apps and extensions and kind of search and assistive tools that our teachers like. And you all need to make sure that you stop me if you have some of these, okay? Have you all used Speak It or know what it is?
Some of us have, Mindy.
Some people have?
Yeah, some have not.
Okay, I'll tell you real quickly what it is. It's an extension. An extension means you're going to find it across the top part of your screen here, next to your URL bar. And a Speak It extension reads aloud text from a website or from a Google document. I'll show you real quick how it works. I think this is just an article about Bluebell ice cream that I found. So if you've got developing readers, you know, in the younger set, or you've got struggling readers, you go to the website that you want to read. I'm just going to highlight a sentence so it won't read the whole thing. I'm going to highlight what's on the website and then just click on the extension. And when I open it up, it's going to read what's on the page.
And Prevention said Tuesday that the number
Can you all hear that at all?
To the company's products has increased to 10.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, good. So it reads it, and of course with this extension, you can change, you know, how fast the reader reads. You can change from male to a female voice and so forth. But that's a tool that our teachers at school use quite a bit. And some students who aren't even necessarily struggling readers enjoy having Speak It, and they kind of watch the words as they go across, and it just helps them develop more fluency. It'll do the same thing with the Google document. You could paste a bunch of text in the Google document, say a story, for instance. You don't have to highlight the text. You just press on the app or the extension, excuse me, and it'll start reading it aloud, which is really cool. Do you all know naturalreaders.com?
No.
Okay, and what it does is it reads aloud a PDF. You know, we had a lot of teachers who had documents and readings that they had scanned over the years they wanted to keep using. If you've ever tried to convert a PDF document into Microsoft Word, let alone into a Google Doc, you find it's almost impossible to do. But that site, I won't go to it just for time's sake, but that site lets you upload that PDF document and then it reads it aloud in the same way that that Speak It does. Do you all use the Google Dictionary? And the Google Dictionary is just an extension, but here's what's great about it, and here's Bluebell again, just because it was handy. Once you add the extension to your computer, as students are reading, they come across a word they don't know. They don't have to either skip the word altogether and not get a full sense of the reading, and they don't have to do what I was doing when I was in school, which is to stop and go get a dictionary. You simply double-click on a word, and it'll show you the definition. I'm just going to click on massive, just double-click on it, and it opens up, and it gives you a definition for the word. And many of the words, too, also have a pronunciation. So it'll pronounce the word for you as you go. And this isn't something you have to go up and click on the extension to use. Once it's installed, all you do is just double-click on the word, and it brings it up. And that's something that our teachers use with the students all the time. They just have to remember that that extension is there to use, and they'll get a lot of use out of it. And again, it helps with not just the fluency and the understanding, the comprehension, but it helps keep the kids on track, so they're not stopping when they come across words they don't know to try to guess what they are, to stop and look them up. And have you all used readability? It's the extension that looks like a little red chair. Have you seen that one before? I'm going to assume no. Let me click, and I chose a website that I knew would have a bunch of clutter on it. So here's Us Weekly. And we're just going to pretend that there's an article on Us Weekly or some other site that has a lot of pop-ups and weird things going on, and you want to share that article with your students or have them read it, but you don't want them to be constantly distracted by all the pop-ups and pictures and things like that on the screen. Here's Derek. I'll just click on this article about Derek Huff. And you can see on this page there's a lot going on besides this article about Derek Huff. A lot of stuff going on, pop-ups and so forth. Well, with the readability extension, when you have your website up or your article up, you click on the extension itself, and you can see there you can actually even send these to your Kindle or save to read later. I'm going to click on Read Now, and it's going to take out all the clutter from that page and just give us that article. So all we've got are the words. And then readability goes a step further, and you can, for instance, change the size of the font. You can change even the size of the column that it's read in. And something else that you can do, and you can change the fonts also. You know, most text comes to us on a white background in black text. And that's fine, that's okay for most people, but some people might benefit from having the reverse. So you can actually switch so it's a dark background with light text. And some people actually, whoops, there's the Google Dictionary working. Some people actually benefit by having that kind of reverse contrast. So that's readability, which is a great one. What about the MoveNote app? Is that familiar to anybody?
No, I think we might have heard of it, but we don't. A lot of people haven't heard of it.
Okay, and it's it's a really good one. It's an app. It actually works with Google Drive, and here's the scenario. Let's say you're starting a new project or a new unit, and you spend a whole class period introducing everything to the students. Here's what we're going to be studying for this unit. Here's a big project we're going to work on. And you spend the whole class explaining it. You think you did a great job. Everything's cool. The kids know what they're going to be doing for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then the next day, of course, you've got those 2 or 3 students who are absent saying to you, well, what's the project? And you've got to try to find a way in 2 minutes' time before the bell rings to try to explain what it took you an hour to explain to people before. What MoveNote does is it lets you upload a PowerPoint, PDF, whatever you want to use. You upload that, and then there's actually video of you right next to it talking and explaining and going over, for instance, what the project is going to be about. And the MoveNote you can create and then share with students. So if you have students who are absent, you just say, I want you to go watch the MoveNote. It'll explain the whole project. Or for those kids in class who weren't listening as much as you thought they were, you can send them to the MoveNote also to review. So when they say, I forget what you said about Part B of this assignment, you don't have to go over it again. You could say, go watch the MoveNote. I'll show you what one looks like. This is a MoveNote example on how to make a story, but I'm just turning on for a couple of seconds, but you can see what it looks like anyway.
Hi, welcome to my presentation on how to create a storyboard. If this meets Mrs. Reed's approval.
Okay, and he would just be going through the PowerPoint as he talked. And so the student actually gets to see the teacher, and sometimes facial expressions when you say things like, and that has to be done by this point, go a lot further when they can actually see the teacher talking. So MoveNote is a neat thing to use for review or delivering information to students. Students also can use MoveNote. Maybe they have to have a PowerPoint presentation, and if you're like me and you've had students do PowerPoint presentations over the years, what you find is that you're spending 5 or 6 days watching PowerPoints over and over and over again, that's all you're getting done. And it could be pretty boring. If the students, say, did their PowerPoint presentation on a Move Note, they could share the Move Notes with each other. And then you could maybe say to them, okay, we're going to have one whole day in class where we're going to watch each other's Move Notes. Everybody gets to watch some of the student presentations, but you're not sitting through the same monotonous thing over and over and over again. So Move Notes are pretty cool. And the last thing I'd say to watch for, because a lot of people forget that it's there, are the advanced search tools in Google. Have you all worked with those very much?
Mindy, I've talked a little bit about them in other Know-How Nordonias, but
Okay.
just a little bit.
Okay. Did you talk to them about how that you can filter by reading level?
Yes.
Okay,
I actually
good.
learned that at the Ohio eTech conference this past year. I went to a session on that.
Good. And doesn't that kind of change the whole way you view Google? And it kind of helps your students too to do searches. So I'll leave that one for now. So I'll just keep yakking on. I'll tell you some of the current, I just call them current crushes. These are things that currently is in. I was going through the hallways this week and last asking teachers, what's your favorite thing you're using right now? And here are some of the things that they told me. And again, some of these you probably already know, but they're on here. And as I said, I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you tomorrow. And when you get that, you can go and click on some of those yourselves too. A lot of teachers are using WebQuests. And you can do a Google search for WebQuests. Or there are two sites, QuestGarden and Zunol, which let you search for WebQuests, and you can borrow those and embed those in your own websites. Edpuzzle. Is anybody using Edpuzzle? This is one that I think is relatively new, but it's kind of neat. It lets you take multiple, say, YouTube videos or even your own videos, and lets you edit them so it's one video. Right, you put several together, and then when you show the video, let's say you'd like to stop it at 3 certain points to ask questions or have the students answer questions to see if they've, comprehension questions or whatever have you. You can actually, it'll stop the video at a point you tell it to, and a question will pop up for the students to answer. Then it'll play some more of the video, it'll pop up again, so it kind of works like a quiz. And teachers can get accounts so they can actually see in real time as students are watching the video to make sure they're really watching it too and understanding it, and they can in real time see what the students are doing in terms of answering the questions. And that one's become a popular one, especially for teachers who show a lot of YouTube videos, because sometimes students don't watch all the videos. Did you know that? Sometimes they just click on a couple of points and say, yeah, I watched it. Well, Edpuzzle makes sure that you watch it. And have you used some of the class tools? There are random name pickers, templates, countdown timers, and these are mostly just kind of fun things, but there are some templates that the teachers have used quite a bit that they like. Let's see if I can get it to come up here. And I'll just let you see the screen. But just some fun, neat things to do if it's going to load, and it usually does. The random name picker that's on here is really good. Okay, you put the students' names that say on it, so like a wheel of fortune wheel. It's this one down here. And then you can spin the wheel. Maybe you do that to see who answers a question or whose turn it is to present, to the class. And the students love the random name picker. They cannot wait to see whose name is going to come up next. And this side, as I say, it's got some other things too, countdown timers. There's something on here called Fakebook, which is, of course, like Facebook. One of our teachers used that earlier this year. The students were studying different leaders from the civil rights movement. And she had the students each create a Fakebook page for the person they were researching. And so it would have visuals and biographical information, and then the students would put comments and post on there things that the civil rights leader would be interested in or talking about, or troubles that they went through and things like that. That was pretty cool. So this site's got several things on it that'd be useful for that. I'm going to guess, because a lot of people have you all used Remind? It used to be called Remind 101. Do you know Remind?
Yeah, that's a big hit with us.
Good,
in our
good. Our teachers using that quite a bit too. I won't click on this side, but this side that has classroom timers are fun for, I mean, anything. Some of the countdown timers they have, for instance, when the countdown timer reaches 0, there'll be a rocket that takes off. Or it's got one that has these snails that race each other, these little cartoon snails. And these timers can be used, you know, not just for get your assignment done in this time period, but it could be used for fun things, like let's see if we can get the room cleaned up before the snail reaches the end line and so forth. So classroom timers are fun. Read, Write, and Think is a great site. And again, this is one that I assume you probably all know about or have been on before. It's got some really nice templates as well as, you know, oodles and oodles of lesson plans for teachers. Quizlet also is very popular. Have you all used Quizlet? Do you know about it?
Yes, we have. Mm-hmm.
Good. And then what about Kahoot?
Yes. Kahoot
Oh, good.
is a big hit in our district.
Our kids love Kahoot. They can't wait. We're going to do Kahoot today in class. They cannot wait to get to class and do Kahoots. They really love those things. What I'm going to do is I put some information here about some teachers' websites. I was going to show you some things that they're doing in class. I'm going to skip those just for a minute and come back to them because just for time's sake, I'll hit just these couple slides here on the end, and I'll go back to where the teachers' websites are. I want to pass along that I put on here links just to some lists that I made for teachers last year for professional development, screencasting tools and assessment tools and things like that. And then also the apps and extensions that we use. I made a little sheet with the app, and it explains what the app is about or the extension and how it's used and where you can get more information and so forth. And there's one here too with all kinds of digital assessment tools. That's one of the, you know, kind of bedrocks of a teacher's life. And there are lots of ways that you can do assessments using digital tools. So there's a list of them here. And in some cases, I put links to some examples of how those are used. Some of them are websites. Some of them use video. Some of them are live, interactive classroom type things like Kahoot. So these are just resources you can check out when you've got some time. But I think you'll find some things in there that you can definitely use.
Okay, Mindy, we do have a question from Kelly.
Okay.
She would like to know, how do you encourage your teachers to try these?
You know what? In my building, it's been a lot of word of mouth. Somebody will say, hey, I use this Kahoot, or I use whatever it is, and they'll tell the teacher next door about what they did with it, and it gets used. And what I try to do, too, and I see a lot of teachers in the office where I'm at, there's a Xerox machine. And so teachers will come in and out, and I'll see them, and I'll talk about something that another teacher has done. But all you can do is let them know, you know, here's this tool, and here's how somebody used it. I've also gone into some teachers' classrooms when they want to use something for the first time, and I'll go with them maybe during the first time they use it, during their first block, to make sure that it's working. When the teachers were using that fake book, for instance, I went in that teacher's classroom because there were some issues with some things that came up, and so I would just kind of hang out in there and help them. So if they've got some support, and if you're a teacher who's, you know, maybe afraid to try new things, find somebody in your building who can walk you through it, who can show you how they've used it, and I think that goes a long way. But you know what, too, and you know this being a teacher, sometimes you make great lesson plans that flop, sometimes you use digital tools that will flop, but I can't think of a time when I've used a digital tool for the first time and something wasn't working right with it, that there wasn't a student or somebody else around who could, you know, get me out of the trouble that I was in. So you have to kind of not be too, you know, too prideful, I think, too, to say I'm not going to lose face when this thing doesn't work right. You just have to go for it, and you have to have a sense of humor about it. Make sense?
Yes.
Hey, Mindy, can I interrupt for a second? I thought after meeting with you guys, something that really needs to take place in our district is the fact that an environment and a culture has to be created where teachers feel comfortable taking those risks. And after watching and listening to Wes and Dave about and I can't think of the middle school principal's name, but they
Scott
when they
Berry.
Scott, yes, thank you. When they talked about that, they were encouraging teachers to take risks. And I mean, I only have 2 on here today, so spread the word, take risks, and if you flop, you flop. And I'd rather you fall on your face and get back up and do it again. And like Mindy's saying, use kids to help out. But it's so hard. I think it's just human nature not to want to do that. And I think you hit on it being pride. Pride's a big thing, and I mean that's what we do as teachers. We're supposed, we're role models. We're supposed to know everything, and we don't always. But but you learn by trying. And I hope that over the years when we do this, that an environment or culture is created where teachers really feel comfortable trying things and taking risks. So I felt that was definitely the case in your district.
It is. Like I say, that that sense of humor is important, and I mean I've seen, and teachers see too, when something doesn't work right, even if the kids can't fix it, they always try to, but even when they can't, the kids just kind of laugh it off, and and you do just like you do with any other kind of teaching, you find a different way to teach it. If you were teaching something without any technology at all and it wasn't getting across to your students, you'd try to backtrack and say, okay, here's another way to say it. It's the same with technology. That's what you just say. You just have to let it go, let it be, and it'll work itself out, just like anything else you do with teaching. And, I would say too, and I had said something earlier about this, don't make that Chromebook or that device the be-all and end-all of your classroom and the center of everything, to the point where, especially if you're new to it, that you feel like, I'm just overwhelmed from the start, I can't do this. Maybe you don't use that Chromebook every day. Nobody says you have to. It's another learning tool. But you find ways to use it in small ways. And like I say, what it is, it's not even a matter of skill a lot of times. I shouldn't say that as a blanket statement, but a lot of it is just confidence. And when you start to have a couple of things go right and go your way, you build some confidence, and then you're not afraid to take more risks. And that's what needs to happen. You've got to try it first. But things do get better, for sure. And hopefully, too, as colleagues, you can help each other and not compare yourself to the teacher down the hallway, especially if you're that teacher who's, Miss Tech person in the building, not being somebody who stands back and says, look at what I've got, but instead goes and says, hey, I can help you with that. So you have to kind of work together, and it helps you get over that bump. And again, it's all about building confidence. Hey, let me do some tidbits and advice, and then I'll go back to those teacher sites here in just a second. These are things that we've kind of, learned this year, things that we kind of knew going into it, but really got reinforced this year. One is, think about having several seating plans in your room. If you don't watch what the kids are doing on the devices all the time, they will be off task. So you've got to have some flexibility in how you set up your classroom. We've had some issues this year with games. When the school year started, I tested the teachers last year about, watch how much you use games as a reward for when work gets done, let's say. Because what happens is the students no longer focus on doing a good job on the work. They focus on rushing through the assignment so they can start playing games. And it's your classroom. You have to make the call on this unless your school has a rule about it. But really think about letting them use games or YouTube as a reward for when work is done. You're probably better off to tell them when your assignment's done, close your Chromebook, read a book, do something else. Because if the environment in your room is, when you're done with your assignments, you get to play games, what the student remembers from your class is not the last thing you taught, but the last game that they played. And when they go back into your class the next day, they're not so much thinking about what they're going to learn, they're thinking about, when do I get to play my game? So definitely think about that, because we've got some issues with kids now who want to, get right to the gaming action. I don't know what your policy is going to be about email. I can tell you, email, it can be a pain in the you-know-what. There's a lot of drama involved when students start emailing each other. Make sure you're keeping an eye on that. And email or Gmail for us is essential because teachers communicate with students that way. Students collaborate and share assignments that way. But definitely think about the rules you're going to have for email between students. Don't allow students to send group emails. I think about just, recently this year at the high school, students were doing a project for their social studies class. It was a totally above the board project. It was great, but they sent out surveys, and because they didn't know how to use group emailing correctly, they ended up sending the surveys to every student, administrator, teacher, everybody in the whole district. And some of the surveys were about things like abortion and taking drugs. And so we had 6th graders pretty scared to have to answer questions about abortion. So watch how much access you give your students to things like that. And when you send out emails too, especially if they're to a group of students, let's say, make sure you put in the title line, please do not reply. Because you might send out an email to all the students with something, just a short little reminder about something, but if you don't tell them, don't reply, you'll probably get 4 or 5 replies, and some of them are reply to everybody kind of replies that never end. So watch that. Don't make it too easy for the kids to forget their charge or to leave their Chromebook at home or not to charge their Chromebooks. I didn't want to say to a student who didn't charge the Chromebook, here, I'll trade you batteries for the day, because then that student knows if I forget to charge, all I have to do is go in and get another battery, and then they don't learn. They don't learn to be responsible. So don't make it too easy for them. We have our students use backup computers, which are a different color, and it's one of those cases where if a student has one of those backup computers, everybody knows that they've kind of forgotten something. There's a little stigma attached to it. So think about what your process is going to be for that. You don't want in your classroom students with cords plugged in, stretched every place. And if you have a charging station in your room, which of course is a good idea for emergencies, there'll be some kids who will come in every day and they might say, well, I'm not charged, and the other student says, I'm not charged either, and they're really just good friends who want to sit together, right? So think about things like that when you set up your classrooms. Make sure that the students are responsible for knowing where to find assignments and readings. If they come to you to ask about something and it's on your website, don't tell them. Say, you got to go check the website. Help build that responsibility for them. And remember, as always, that it's your classroom, and you make the rules for your classroom. You need to make rules for how the students use the technology also. Just because the teacher down the hallway allows the kids to walk into the classroom with an earbud in place doesn't mean that you have to do that. But you've got to decide how you're going to organize those things, because if you don't, they'll get out of hand. And then you've got kids who have earbuds in, let's say, as they walk in your class or listening to music. You don't even see the earbuds sometimes if they've got long hair. So you've got to decide, how am I going to make sure that the students follow the rules I have in class? Well, you've got to make sure you've got rules in class for that. Same thing with the Chromebook. If you're not going to use the Chromebook, maybe your rule is going to be Chromebook has to be shut and put away. Because if you're not using it and the students have it open, they're not doing things you want them to do. I can tell you that. And treat those computer use rules like all the other rules in your classroom. Discipline accordingly and consistently. Be sure to test any sites or links that you want to use with your students before you actually use them. Our teachers have laptops. Our students have Chromebooks. And occasionally a teacher will find this great information, this great webquest or site or whatever, and they bring it to class all prepared to use it, and they find out it doesn't work on the Chromebooks. So make sure you test things, and most things work on the Chromebook, but things like Java don't, so some video things don't work. Always make sure you test. And keep in mind, too, if you use Google for a while, you know that sometimes Google changes stuff with little or no warning. They've changed docs in the last year, so it looks a little different than Google Drive used to look. And Google's known for changing lots of little things and layouts without giving you much notice. You just come in one day and something's different about it, something's different about the Google search page. So be prepared for things like that, and just, roll with the punches as much as you can, that's for sure. If you all don't use bookmarks bars yet when you use Google Chrome, please make sure you do. On my computer, can you see mine up here?
Yes.
I use these all the time, and students use them too. You know, if you've got websites you want to save, you can drag them onto the bookmarks bar and save them. You know, for instance, here under tech, you can see I've got a lot of different blogs that I read. I couldn't keep track of all those websites if I didn't use a bookmark folder for that. So teach your students to use it, and you use it too as a model for them. They keep all of their classroom websites and things organized that way. And for teachers, if you don't have a YouTube account yet, I would highly suggest you get one. You may not create many of your own YouTube videos yourself, and it's great for that, of course, because you can edit. You can also do screencast recordings from that, you know, recording yourself for students, and it also will keep track of YouTube videos that you found you might want to use at a later date. And getting a YouTube account is as simple as going to YouTube, clicking where it says upload, and if you don't have an account, it'll say give your account a name, give it a name, and poof, you're in. It's just that quick. Watch for addictive behaviors, especially when it comes to games. And I'm talking from middle school perspective here. With high schoolers, it might be more about YouTube, but we have a lot of issues with kids on games, and they can't get off the games. So watch for kids who seem to, you know, have kind of a disconnect when it comes to, oh, I have to stop playing this game now, and they can't quite do it, or they get all emotional and they shake and so forth. Just, you know, keep an eye on that for sure. And let me just pick one more from here, which is that I don't know what your bandwidth is going to be like there or how YouTube works, but I would definitely say get yourself a YouTube downloader, because if your lesson is built around a YouTube video that you've got and you go to school the next day to use it, and for some reason YouTube is down, it sometimes goes down. And then your whole, you know, lesson is ruined because YouTube won't work, or it's sluggish, that kind of a thing. Get yourself a YouTube downloader, and it will take the YouTube video and turn it into just an MP4 file that you can play without having to use YouTube to play it. And this can also be uploaded in Google Drive. There's a link here for a downloader that I like too, so you can check that one out. I'll come back to this one. This is some tech stuff, but something for all teachers too. How are we doing on time, Angela?
About 10 minutes.
Okay. Since I got myself plonked off the thing, we had to start over again. Now I put on here just some different things I saw teachers doing that I thought would be really cool to show you. When you all get this PowerPoint tomorrow, what's down here won't make much sense to you. These are just kind of my notes for myself. Your best bet is going to be to click this link. It's going to take you to all the teacher sites at Licking Valley Middle School. Some teachers have their sites closed to anybody outside the district. Some of them are open, so you have to kind of, you know, check in there. And for some of these documents, I took them off the website. I had to change the permission so I could show them to you tonight. But let me show you. This is a teacher who's using technology, little bits and pieces this year a lot. And she's somebody who started out not using it much at all. But you know what? If you're a teacher and you can make something like this, which is just a quick little assignment sheet with a link in it, and you can do that, and it's your first time doing that, just, you know, be proud of that. You start from there. You do something small. You don't have to do fantastic, wonderful things with technology every day. You just need to find something that you want to give to students and a convenient way to give it to them. Make it, and then, you know, like I say, be proud of what you've done. Really important, it seems, is to have an agenda that you post someplace for students. They know when assignments are due and what the assignments are. And also, as I said before, for parents, because parents need to know this too. And as I said, think about being public with some of your documents. If they're closed within the district, if you can change the settings so other people can view them. I'm not talking about private things, but assignment sheets like this or agendas are important so that parents can see them if they're independent from the student at that time.
Mindy, I have a question, another question from Kelly here.
Okay. All right.
She was wondering how science and math teachers are using the Chromebooks.
Let me go to the science teachers site. Where is she here? Here's this one. I think her site is not blocked, but this is a science teacher who uses a lot of WordPress and just kind of, she's very creative, all kinds of unique assignments. Let me go to her website and see what I can get into there. She put a couple of things on here for me. Links for Mindy, she said she would call it, and sure enough, there it is. She's got this one assignment. This is called Where's Mrs. Burrell? And it's part Google Slides, as you can see, and it's got to do with evidence and scientific method. And it's the thing where she's got questions. I don't know if you can see it very well or not, but like on this PowerPoint, it'll say, what is a testable possible solution to a problem? And then here are the answers. And you can see that she's got evidence here. So in order to find Mrs. Burrell thinking about the scientific method, they click on one of the evidences here that would help track down where she was. So for her, it's about the students exploring and, you know, thinking through problems, critical thinking, and thinking about observation and so forth. She does a lot of those kinds of things, which is really cool. She does WordPress also. Some she makes herself. Some she gets from other websites. This one, I think, on Sound, she found someplace else. And you know, with a WordPress, your students start at one point and they move to other points by clicking on links and doing research and so forth and so on. And there are lots of sites out there that have. Whoops. Oh, nice. See, now if you're a kid going through this is a lot better than just listening to your teacher talk all the time. So she uses WordPress quite a bit too. She also teaches math. I actually think she put, no, it's here too. This is an assignment called Mr. Berry's 80th birthday party. And our principal, Mr. Berry, is nowhere near 80. I'm in my 50s. He's younger than I am. But she's planning for his 80th birthday party. And what the students had to do was plan for a party for him that included, you know, a budget for the party, how much money somebody could spend, how much the budget had to be spent on certain things. 50%, for instance, had to be spent on food, and so forth. And as you go through this little thing, it's kind of like a WordPress too. There are some links. You go to Party City, and you can check out decorations for the party and see how much they are. So it's a whole exploration that uses math, but you're doing something fun with it. And the kids love it when they get to go from one link to the other to find and research things and still have a way to kind of express themselves, right? So they could pick whether they want to have blue cups or red cups or whatever it is. And they plan the whole party that way. Let me see if I had somebody else on here that was, I feel like I did. Hang on here. Let me set that. There's Adam. Whoops. Let me head back here. Perhaps. Maybe she was the only. Well, here's one. Mrs. Mick, and she's a science teacher, also teaches math, but she's a science teacher. And one fun thing her kids did recently was this thing called March Madness, and it was, you know, during the time when the playoffs were happening, and the students were studying different kinds of animals. And she'd assign them each an animal. They would research it, but the focus was on how that animal survives, right, and thrives through evolution and so forth. So the kids would create these little, you know, I think they just used Google Slides. They'd create these cards that had information about each of the animals. And then what she would do is she would post two animals up against each other in a conflict. You know, like what would win between I don't know, was this a black sawtooth catfish and a black mamba? And then students could, and this won't open up for me now, but they could click there and actually vote for which animal would survive. And it was all based on how the students described what the animal's powers were and the strengths were of the animal and so forth and why they could survive. Right? So anything like that becomes a game, and that students don't just create, but they see an outcome for, right? I've got to do a good job on this. I've got to talk about survival because people are going to vote on mine to see if it's the best one. So anything that challenges students, not just to do the assignment, but to think about the audience for the assignment, right? That's always the best way to go. You've got to have an audience for your assignment. And what you find as you use your Chromebooks more and more is that students are always thinking about the audience because they know at any moment their document, whatever it is, could be shared. Right? And that's part of the whole idea behind it. Our math teacher, I just want me to make sure to show you this. Make sure I go to the right spot here. We have a math teacher who spent a lot of time creating, he calls them math casts. I want to make sure I get the right one. And he created or found videos for every standard. That's what he did. And he's kind of not just a master teacher, but just an incredible, kind of teacher. And he, I think it was in irrational numbers. Here's Mr. Britton. I'm going to scroll down here. He's got some math casts. I think it was opposites. And he has these math videos linked for everything he teaches. And of course, he teaches it during class. At other times, it'll be a flipped environment where the students do some of the work at home, then they come to class and do some of the assignments, some of the practice, instead of just, him teaching that way. And he created his, I was going to say, I think he used screencast.com to create his. You could post them on screencast.com. That's a good place. You could post them on YouTube. You can even put them in Google Drive. I don't know if you've ever uploaded a video to Google Drive before. When you upload a video to Google Drive, it uploads actually very quickly, more quickly than it does on YouTube. And if you upload a video on Google Drive, of course, then you can share it with your students. So he makes these. We'll just say watch the video only. Right, he's got his little thing here, and I jump ahead. And he actually just uses his smartboard to record, a lot of these. So he'll go over the information and so forth and so on, and the students have it. And as I say, sometimes it'll be a flipped environment. Sometimes he'll do it in class, but the videos are there for the students to go back and review, or when they're, say, absent from class, they've got a handy version of it. We have teachers, and I'm starting to see this more and more, who use video for, let's say, assessments. So you don't just, answer a question, but you actually prove that you know the material. This is one, and this is a consumer science teacher, and these students had to explain how to cream butter and sugar, right? So they do it on a video. The students record the video. Some of them used iPads to record their videos. Some used regular cameras. A couple of them even used phones. And yeah, I think in this case they worked as a team, but they'll do demonstrations. And when you think about, especially if what you're teaching the students is something that needs to be demonstrated, think about the technology and how it allows them to show what they know without just telling the teacher on a piece of paper, here's what I know. And again, they've got an authentic audience for it, and that's when they seem to do their best work, because they know, hey, somebody's going to be watching this. There's quite a bit. And something to think about, too. I remembered that two of our social studies teachers actually share the same history website. So if you're a new teacher to technology and you're just not quite sure how you're feeling about it, maybe somebody else who teaches the same subject as you and often the same, kind of lessons, buddy up. Get a website that you use together until you feel like you're ready to branch out on your own. That's kind of one of those things where you start small and then you'll start to feel like, I think I can do this. And, videos again. I tell you, the teachers use these for demonstrations all the time. Now, this website is the art teacher's website. Kristen Dennis, she's, absolutely amazing. But she records a lot. This might be one of hers. Yeah. She's got a program she uses on her, she's got a Mac computer. And she uses one of those Elmo text readers and records how-tos for her students. And in her class sometimes she'll have 4 or 5 different groups. One group's watching the video on how to do this, the other group's watching something about this, the other group's actually creating something. And there are so many different ways to create these kinds of demos for your students that, again, the students can use anytime they need to. They're always available. And let me mention, too, just real quick here about Google Forms for tests. When you use a form, Google form to create a test, you can do it in the simplest way possible with multiple choice questions. Mr. Hagman here, who started the year doing that, very, very simple forms. And then as the weeks went by, he started adding more and more to them. And he was, for instance, here you can see he's got some images on his test. And then he started putting things like maps in there. This little arrow he put in because he wanted to use this picture, but he was like, how are they going to know for sure what I'm pointing to? And I showed him an extension called Awesome Screenshot that lets you, add text and arrows and things like that to pictures. And so now his tests not only have maps and things like this in it, he also puts videos in his tests. So what the students have to show him is more application than it was before. Right? Use this image, change the next two questions, and so forth. And this is an example of a teacher who started small, simple forms, and then he built from there, because that's really what you have to do. And I bet we're running out of time, aren't we, dear?
Yes, we are.
We are. Sadly, I've got too much here. I hope you all, when you get this, yeah, there's too much. That's part of the problem. But when you get the PowerPoint, I hope you'll check out that last slide there too about some tech stuff to be aware of. And this isn't just if you're the tech person in your building, but I would say if some of the things that you see here, you're not sure they're happening, advocate. Go to your tech people and say, hey, let's block this, let's get rid of that incognito tab, which I say down here is the devil because it is. Do you all know the incognito tab?
No, share us about that.
It's on your Chromebook. I don't think I've got mine on here anymore. But the students can, yeah, I do. On Chrome, if the students go up here to the settings, you see where the three lines are, there's an incognito window, incognito tab. And if the students use that and the teacher walks by and looks at the tabs the student has open, you can't see those tabs. So that's where the student's got a game hiding in the background that you don't know he's playing and you don't even see it there. And we saw students using those, and we blocked that pretty quickly, but that's one of those things you want to, make sure happens for sure. Because they'll find ways.
So you can block that from the devices?
Well, what whoever's in charge of that would go in through the Chrome dashboard, and they can turn it off on all the devices. And that's what you have to do.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big one. So yeah, check some of that stuff out if you would. I know there was too much to show you all, but look through some of these. I'm going to send it to you tomorrow, Angela, and you can give it to anybody who needs it from there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send a copy to everyone who's live this evening, and then I'll post it on the Weebly as well. So.
Okay. That'd be great. I'll send that to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
No, I think the examples that you shared were really good. I think it helps to see what other teachers are doing and using on their websites. I think that's really helpful. So, and I really like that idea of the math pass. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah, like I say, teachers using video more and more to create lesson plans, and also for students to demonstrate learning, which is kind of neat because the kids really like it.
Yeah.
Mindy, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let me go back to the. Whoops. Now you went away again.
Wow.
Here, I'll stop.
There we go.
Presenting.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. And hey, it was nice to meet you all too. I appreciate you hanging in there through your snowstorm you've got going on there.
Just a little snow, no snow days tomorrow. I don't.
No snow. I think we're done with those for a bit.
Yeah. And then if anyone would like Mindy's email, to email her questions, just let me know, and I can give you her email address, and you can ask her questions or ask her to share, other ideas that she might have. I know she's been very, very helpful since we kind of set up everything it's great to know that there are people who have gone through this, and it's been very positive. So I appreciate that, Mindy, a lot.
Good. I wish you guys all the luck in the world next year. I think you're going to do great. You've got so many people to deal with, but I think it's going to be fine. And I think when Wes and Scott come up and visit, you're going to learn a lot too. So you'll enjoy that.
We're looking forward to their visit.
Good.
I just got an email from Wes tonight. So.
Did you?
Yeah, just
very good.
While we were talking.
Good. They're looking forward to it.
Awesome. So are we.
Yes. Okay. Well, thanks y'all very much. Hope
yes,
you have
thank
a good
you
night.
everyone for joining us, and until next time, we will see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.